Hello, this is Neil Oxenberg coming to you from DBR, Daily Biz Radio, all business all day, from Main Street to Wall Street. And today we have with us Jerry Douglas. Jerry is a real estate attorney working out of Hawthorne, New Jersey. Welcome, Jerry, to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Glad to have you. I want to ask, first of all, tell me a little bit about your background, how you got started, and who your clientele is. And if you could just kind of touch on all those areas so you can give the audience a very good idea of how your practice is doing and what they're engaged with these days.
Certainly. I've been an attorney for 16 years and primarily concentrating in real estate and transactional law. And I kind of fell into it after becoming tired of dealing with litigation years ago and started focusing on real estate transactions and business law. And that's probably 90% of my practice right now, which is primarily concentrated in northern and central New Jersey, both commercial and residential real estate, representing lenders, and trying to get involved with 1031 exchanges, condo conversion work, and whatnot. The bulk of my clientele are commercial clients that engage my services for commercial leasing work, selling of property, acquisitions, things of that nature.
Okay, good. Just to remind our listeners, today's show is sponsored by knzbrokers.com, 5 business franchises under one platform. And if you would, please elaborate on how you bring the buyers and sellers together. Is it usually just the one party that comes to you and then you kind of have to, source out the other party? Or is it generally speaking that, you have constant interaction with both from the get-go?
Typically speaking, the deals are brought to my office where there's already two parties involved, whether through a broker or the parties knowing each other and having their own counsel.
Mm-hmm.
So many times, the base terms of the contract or transaction has already been decided. It's then up to the attorneys to try and craft the language to perfect the party's intent.
Mm-hmm.
In the situations where either the buyer or the seller come to me with a party who's unrepresented, I then get that other party to another attorney as to not have any conflict ethically, but also for a more smooth process of negotiation. Typically speaking, then the attorneys will hammer out the final details of the transaction in the contract and then hopefully proceed to a closing table.
I see. Okay. And are you usually retained on in other words, are you hired on a retainer basis?
In commercial transactions, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Residential transactions are a little more flexible by their very nature, but with commercial transactions, yes, it's a retainer basis.
Okay. Now, when you decided to make this transition from litigation to real estate, did you have to go back to school?
I do not. It was just a school of hard knocks, if you will, Neil. Becoming familiar with all forms of real estate transactions and leasing.
Right. Okay.
Just immersing myself in the practice.
Okay. Let's get into the current foreclosure market and what the typical buyer is facing when he considers buying a foreclosed property, whether it be, like a real rundown, dilapidated, like one is in the corner of some forgotten town, or whether it's, $1 million estate. What kind of problems and challenges are presented to these buyers, and what should they be aware of?
Well, it depends if the buyers are experienced as to real estate in general or not. Many buyers today try to snap up a property that appears to be a good deal without any understanding of the time involved to bring it back to resale or habitability and what sort of resources they're going to need to have available to them to make that a reality.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's a property that's being bought for rental purposes in the future, or if they're merely looking to rehab it and then flip it, and you also get the buyers who are looking to purchase, to renovate, and occupy. unfortunately, some buyers that are not as experienced as others find themselves coming up difficulties with permits for the work to be done, carrying sometimes two properties at once while the renovations are being completed, or in the event of there's a delay in the sale, delay in the closing. Their financial resources are often stretched too thin, and that's probably the biggest problem with foreclosure purchasers.
Right. And do you do a lot of research into permits and seeing that they're cleared, and also the zoning laws and what pertains, to that property, making it inhabitable, or allowing it to be purchased?
I suggest strongly to the buyers, while they're in the contract negotiation stage, that they go down personally to the building department of whatever town the property is located in and make all their inquiries as to what their intended projects will be. Often, municipal building inspectors or building departments are very helpful, and they'll say you might need a variance, or that might be a problem for you, or they'll say, I don't think there is going to be a problem with your intended use.
Okay.
But it's often up to the buyer to go down and do their homework, as they know best as to what their intentions are going to be.
Okay. Just to remind everyone, today's show is sponsored by knzbrokers.com. 5 business franchises under one platform. Again, with us is Jerry Douglas, and he's speaking about his real estate practice, dealing with commercial buyers and sellers, and also residential buyers. What they face in the purchasing process, in the foreclosure process, and some of the roadblocks along the way. Jerry, how's the business these days in terms of 5-6 years ago? I'm sure that your business has shifted focus over to foreclosure, let's say, more than it did. But other than that, what are the changes?
Having to adapt to the new lending requirements, and the market has completely shifted from a seller's market to a buyer's market. Whereas 5 or 6 years ago, sellers were completely in control of the transactions, and now it's 180 degrees in the other direction, where the buyers not only have their choice of foreclosed properties that are up for short sale, and your regular sale. So that's probably been the biggest shift in the practice. And also having to adapt to the new lending requirements that make it more difficult for potential purchasers to qualify for a mortgage, whether commercially or residentially.
Right. Okay. One more question. Tell us about your refinancing capabilities there, and the mortgage loan, how you work with the lenders and mortgage loans.
It's a very large part of my practice right now, representing commercial lenders for their refinance work. The biggest area of concern or focus with that is getting the borrowers to understand the process that they're going through, so that they understand the new loan that they're going to be getting, keeping the commercial account client happy, which means getting the deals closed in a satisfactory manner, which is a two-pronged assault, because you're trying to keep your commercial client happy, getting the job done for them. We're also trying to convey enough information to the borrower so that they understand what they're doing. I certainly don't want to engage in any process where borrowers are at a table just signing papers and walking out of my office having no idea what just happened. All it takes is really about 5 minutes of explanation to go over a few of the loan documents with them to help them understand exactly what they're doing to avoid any later confusion.
Right. Okay. Now, you say you got away from litigation, but I'm sure there's some litigation involved in your practice now, as it pertains to real estate. Do you see most of these suits settled out of court, or do you go to court frequently? If a case escalates, do you see yourself going to court at all these days in light of what you do?
I'm still fairly active with going to landlord-tenant court because I represent a fair number of landlords for both commercial and residential properties. So I'm still in court for those sorts of cases, which are fairly problematic, and they cases, whether you're dealing with foreclosure, any sort of judicial intervention, whether a bankruptcy or whatnot, I try to refer out simply because I believe in being very good at what I do, but limiting what I'm doing to what I'm good at. I don't want to do a client a disservice by going to court on a matter that I'm not qualified to be there for. So when I typically get involved with litigation, it's within the purview of something real estate based or more than likely landlord-tenant court.
Okay. Once again, we're coming to you from Daily Biz Radio, all business all day, from Main Street to Wall Street. With us is Jerry Douglas, real estate attorney in New Jersey. One last question for you, Jerry. How can people reach you?
They can reach me by phone at area code 973-238-8638, or my email, the letter J, Douglas, Douglas, ATTY, @gmail.com, and I'll return all emails and calls promptly.
Okay, now, do you just service New Jersey clients, or would this be, or can you work, do you have licenses in other states?
I'm licensed in New Jersey, but the companies that I do business with other law firms, also handle New York work. So I typically quarterback matters that are in other jurisdictions, and I've been involved with matters in Ohio, Florida, jurisdictions like that, but with counsel, of course, that's licensed in those jurisdictions.
Okay, I see. So that wouldn't limit anybody from those areas from calling you. That's great.
Correct.
Jerry, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I wish you the best in your business and continued good fortune, and you have a good day.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Once again, Neil Oxenberg coming to you from DBR, Daily Biz Radio, all business all day, from Main Street to Wall Street. Have a good day, everyone.